There we go. Cut, cap, and balance. And joining us now is my good friend, who is the chairman of the Republican Study Committee, Jim Jordan. Jim, thanks for joining us. And actually, this whole idea of cut, cap, and balance originated with the Republican Study Committee. Let me set that up. Republican Study Committee, the largest Republican caucus in the Congress, and it is made up of all conservatives. The largest body, as large as it's ever been.
Yeah, 176 members, I think, now.
And this idea is being spearheaded by you. Explain it in detail for our folks.
You guys have done it well. We got to cut spending. Everyone understands that we spend more than we take in. We got to stop that. We got to cut it in the short term. In the midterm, we got to cap it as a percentage of GDP. Historically, the United States has spent somewhere between 18 and 20% of gross domestic product. Currently, we're almost at 25%. The bigger government gets, the smaller liberty and freedom get. Our founders understood that, and Americans understand it. So we got to bring it back down to its historic norm. And then finally, we think this is, as Senator DeMint said, that special moment, that defining moment in American history where we actually have a chance to make a fundamental, game-changing transition change in this country and enact a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution. Can you imagine if we actually get passed in the House and Senate a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution, send it to the states, let conservative groups like FRC and Collins Group and the Tea Party movement, etc., go to work on getting this thing ratified in the state legislatures around the country? What a difference that would make for this country long term. And do what Jefferson said. Jefferson said, any debt you incur, each generation should pay it off. You shouldn't send it to the next. And that's what we would guarantee if we get a balanced budget amendment passed.
Tell us about how it started as a partisan effort in the Republican Study Committee, and how, as it's moving out, people all across the political and ideological spectrum are recognizing that this is beyond partisanship and beyond ideology. It's about survival.
Yeah, it's common sense. I mean, it's just plain common sense. You know, every family, every small business owner, every local government, village, township, city, state government understands you got to live within your budget. Somehow the federal government is exempt from that, and we're now seeing when you have that policy in place, you get a $14 trillion national debt. So we just went to members of the Republican Study Committee and said, what makes sense? And we came back with this cut spending, cap spending, and get a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution. And then you all took off with it. The outside conservative groups, Americans have taken off with this. We have the website, the cutcapbalancepledge.com site. It's just basic common sense. And if we don't...
Which means that the people get it.
Exactly right. The people understand this, and you guys know this. The people are always ahead of the politicians. Well, they figured this out a long time ago that you can't keep doing.
Let the people lead, and their leaders shall follow.
Exactly.
But we do have some folks up here that get it. Yeah. They understand the seriousness of the moment, and this is the reason they came here. A number of your colleagues that are here, this is why they're here. They came to save America. And I want to tell you folks, I want to underscore just how important this issue is. And it's a moral issue. And I know a lot of you are FRC supporters, and we focus a lot on the social issues, and some have asked, why are you involved in this? This is a moral issue, isn't it, Jim?
It's immoral to pass on this debt to our kids and our grandkids. It's that basic. It's just plain wrong. And Americans understand that. And that's why you're seeing them say, don't raise this debt ceiling. I would rather than do a few tweaks and tinkering around the edges and kick the can down the road, I would rather have any crisis, and Secretary Geithner seems to talk about this a lot, I'd rather have the crisis now and say, let's deal with it, versus making a few changes, raising the debt ceiling, and having the big crisis in 2 or 3 years, which now virtually, and you can't get economists to agree on much of anything, but now virtually every economist, there's a consensus out there saying, we will have a debt crisis in 2 to 3 years. All you got to do is look at the numbers. The CBO numbers came out yesterday. Our debt to GDP ratio, our deficit to GDP ratio are very comparable to Greece, the country we've been reading about now. It's on the front page today, but I've been reading about it for the last 2 years. They're going through this. We do not want that to happen in this great country. The thing that's saving us is we're America. We're the biggest kid on the block. We've had this credibility and this wonderful track record over years, but at some point that gives way to the math, to the time value of money, and that's what we got to deal with and make the bold changes so we don't have that debt crisis in a few years.
And we're just one hiccup in the markets could create what the CBO says a sudden fiscal crisis, which could cause the entire house of financial cards to collapse.
Yeah, we're about a $15 trillion annual economy. Our public and private held debt right now is $14 trillion. So whenever you get to that 1-to-1 ratio, it's a dangerous place to be. We're currently spending $200 billion a year on interest. Within 10 years, the interest payments are bigger, are larger than what we currently spend on national defense. The founders understood that our number one priority as a federal government was national defense. If you're paying more in interest than you are to defend your country, you cannot sustain that model. And that's what the CBO numbers highlighted yesterday. Again, it just underscores why cut, cap, and balance is so needed, and why it's so much common sense, and why the American people understand we need to do
And when
this.
interest payments become such a large portion of the economy and you devalue your currency,
Yeah.
chances are the interest rates will go up.
Oh, yeah, 'cause
and
you-
that has a
yeah.
huge compounding effect.
Great point. We're paying $200 billion a year in interest right now at record low rates. The historic low rates. They're going to go up, and then it could be even worse. It could be even 2 times what we're paying on national defense at some point. In the
Right,
future.
based on our credit rating. But now, at present, the amount that we pay, the interest on our current debt, can be taken care of, even if we have to, if we're not able to raise the ceiling. And the administration has to make choices where they go. They can service the debt. We do not have to default.
Revenues are going to keep coming in. And remember, we're spending 3.7, we're bringing in about 2.2 trillion. That 2.2 trillion, while there may be some fluctuation, may not be a solid line in how it comes in, it's still going to, revenue's still coming in. And this is the job of the Treasury, to decide, how we're going to allocate those resources and pay our bills. So this idea that it all stops on August 2nd. Remember, Tim Geithner originally sent a letter to Congress saying we have to have this debt ceiling raised in the first quarter. Then he said we have to have it raised by May 16th, and now he's saying August 2nd. So there is a date when it becomes kind of troublesome, but there is revenue coming in, and we can pay the things we have to pay.
That website again, Colin?
CutCapBalancePledge.com.
You do that pretty good.
It does. Good to be
Jim
with you.
Jordan,
Thanks
you
for-
do it pretty
thanks-
good too.
you do a
Thanks
great
for all
job.
your
Thank
work.
you. You too,
Thanks,
Tom.
everybody.
Thank you.